Are you ready to accelerate your path to success? Do you want to achieve extraordinary results by designing your destiny? Now is the time to take action, and this is your first step to capture the champion within. In this program, you will discover the limiting beliefs that are holding you back from achieving your destiny. Accelerate your path by creating new empowering beliefs, leading you to the life of your dreams. Join Leonard Wheeler and Rich Campy as they lead you through the steps to capture the champion within you. Hello, this is Eugene Robinson, announcer for the Carolina Panthers Sports Radio. Playing in the NFL for 16 years and winning a Super Bowl, I've learned to be a champion. It is a privilege and an honor to introduce two great friends that over the next 45 minutes will coach you through creating the life you desire. Leonard Wheeler and Rich Campy are recognized on and off the field as real champions. Having played for the Cincinnati Bengals, Minnesota Vikings, and Carolina Panthers for a total of 8 years, Leonard Wheeler speaks around the country for various organizations, colleges, and churches. He's an entrepreneur, owner of Athletes Health Incorporated. He coaches athletic conditioning at the YMCAs, in addition to training some of the top athletes in the world. He has had speaking roles in the movie Radio, One Tree Hill on the WB, and has appeared in many regional and national commercials. Rich Campy holds a first-degree black belt in martial arts. He is an avid real estate investor, and he has spoken at multiple business conferences where he has shared the stage with President George Bush Sr., Les Brown, Tony Robbins, and Zig Ziglar. Rich's strategic coaching clients encompasses a host of companies, including Nextel Communication, Northwestern Mutual, American Express Financial, Citibank, Bank of America, and Hartford Financial, to name a few. Hold on to your seat. This is a ride you will not soon forget. Capture the champion within.
Hey, wake up. Can you hear me? Wake up.
In life, we all need a wake-up call from something or somebody. We always hope and we even pray that it's not too late. Are we really asking for luck to be on our side instead of really living by faith and working hard? What if, from this point forward, we use an opportunity clock instead of an alarm clock to start our day? Wouldn't you prefer to wake up to an opportunity clock instead?
Do you say good morning, God? Or do you say good God this morning?
Today we are talking about capturing the champion within. Hi, I'm Rich Campy.
And I'm Leonard Wheeler. Welcome to a program that's designed to capture the champion within. Congratulations for taking the time, energy, and financial resources to invest in yourself and design your destiny. You're part of a select few that do versus the many who do not.
Capture the champion within is about being all you were born to be. One of the biggest barriers that most people have to overcome is fear. Fear of failure, fear of making poor decisions, fear of change, fear of rejection, and of course the big one, fear of success. You know, the fear of really going for it, or once you're successful, consistently holding the bar up to that level. It is this fear and all of its cousins like worry, anxiety, and self-doubt that paralyze us and keep us from succeeding. Capture the Champion Within will give you a practical action plan to assist you in sculpting the amazing life you deserve. Look at myself and Leonard as your own personal coaches. We will walk you through the concepts and strategies of being a champion, and you will have to decide to flex and work out your muscles. Not your physical muscles, but your thinking muscles.
That action plan includes 3 phases. Phase 1, the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution. In other words, what is it you really want and desire? Phase 2, leverage momentum strategy. This is how we generate the passion and drive to go forward at light speed. Phase 3, perpetual success conditioning, to ensure that the results last indefinitely and are not just a fleeting moment in time.
Out of respect, we'd like to start by asking for your permission to stretch you to another level of thinking. We can assure you that this program will have an amazing and profound impact on your life forever. But you have to decide to stretch your thinking muscles. That's right, this is conditional, and I did say but, intentionally. And yes, it's a 3-letter word. The reality is you have to step up for this program to be effective. We'll provide the tools and the resources that are guaranteed to work when you commit yourself to work your thinking muscles. Our program will Capture the champion within you.
The best way to start designing your destiny is to make a real decision. A real decision to capture the champion within. Your decisions will create your actions and in turn design your destiny. Your decisions about financial freedom, spiritual growth, physical health and vitality, and your relationships with your friends, family, and associates.
It starts with you. Just by looking at this exclusive program, you're obviously someone that cares about making a difference and being all that you can be. We have the deepest respect for your time and your initiative for taking this crucial step. We don't take our partnership lightly. We're committed to giving you our very best, and we expect nothing less from you. If you're ready to move forward now, say yes. Go ahead, say it, yes. Excellent. Now let's jump in with phase 1, the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution.
Now that we have your permission, we must now find our way back to our original intent. Let's dive right into phase 1, the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution. We must ask some very basic questions like, who are we? What are we meant to do? Where are we going? Why do we do what we do? And how do we become the best we can be? Are you ready to remember? We were all born as champions. Think about it. You beat out billions of others to win the very first race of your life.
Don't you remember being there? The sound of the silence at the starting gate. The anticipation of the first race of your life. How did you feel knowing you are running against billions of others? Think about it. Looking at all the others lined up next to you, ready to race. Can you feel the anticipation now? If you still can't remember, just trust your unconscious now as we take you on a journey back to a place in your future. Just take a deep breath now and trust that part of you that enables your heart to beat over 100,000 times a day without ever thinking about it.
Runners, take your mark. Sit. And now you're in the biggest race of your life. You have been given a chance to be a champion. Look at yourself, go for it. Come on. Giving up is not an option. You're no quitter. You're choosing to run the race. You won. You won. Say it. Go ahead. I won. I won. I'm a champion. I'm a champion.
Now maybe you forgot, but you did win. What you might not remember is the race. You beat out billions of other cells to be born. You started out as a champion.
Now that you remember, go ahead, say it again. I'm a champion. I'm a champion. Are you excited yet? We're talking about you being a champion.
Let's turn to the Webster's Dictionary right now to read about you, champ. A champion is a gladiator, one who fights for another or a cause, a defender, a winner of first place in a competition, excelling all others.
It starts with you. You must start remembering who you are. I will never forget the interview with John Wooden, one of the greatest basketball coaches in history. He was asked by the interviewer to talk about some of the most memorable times he ever had. John Wooden said, "What I'm about to say may surprise you. Some of the teams won a lot of games, but they were never the real champions. And some of the teams that won very little were the real champions. You see, the idea of a champion is to consistently demand more from ourselves every day. And even after we think we have nothing left, we must continue to reach for more." He went on to say that a real champion is someone that always demands more from themselves to be the best.
Now that we remember our true intent to be a champion, let's dig a bit deeper into phase 1, the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution. Discovering what we really desire and how to continue becoming all that we are meant to be, not getting caught up in the trap of mediocrity.
We talked about the champion in all of us from birth, but as we go through life, we get pummeled, knocked down, discouraged, beat up, humiliated, even scared. We allow fear to paralyze us. We forget how to get back up and fight like a champion. People aren't always going to tell us what we want to hear, right? Life does not always go the way we planned it. But does that mean we stop fighting? Stop getting up? No! We capture the champion within. We awaken. We keep our head up and we fight. We look at fear in the eye and we recognize it for what it is. What is fear anyway? F-E-A-R. False evidence appearing real. That's what we had to do in training camp. I remember as a rookie being knocked down by 10, 11-year veterans, those big running backs that's been around the league for a while. They would try to intimidate us rookies, like that big playground bully. What do? Show your fear or get back in the game? A champion has little tolerance for gray areas in his rise to success. I would look at them in the eye and say, I'm not taking that today. We must take a stand. This is one of the first steps in being a champion. We must start learning about ourselves.
It's about taking a stand and managing our self-talk. A champion manages their self-talk. In my coaching practice, I call this incantations. It's what we say to ourselves over and over and over again. In many cases, we're not even aware of the self-talk or the incantations. We run the patterns in our mind, but we are not aware of the patterns. Are we saying, I am a loser. I am a loser. I am a wimp. I'm depressed. I'm so lonely. I'm so fat. I don't have any energy. We must start by managing our internal dialogue with self. In fact, let's try this right now. Say it to yourself. I'm not taking that today. Now, the key is to say it with real congruency. You must say it with the inner and the outer totally aligned. Saying it like this, I'm not going to take this today, or I'm such a winner, will not work. Say it with real thrust and energy. Now say it like this. I am a winner. I am a winner. I am a champion. I'm not taking that today.
Sometimes we all get frustrated and feel like we just can't go anymore. When that happens, we must determine the outcome and our focus. I had to focus on my direction and my outcome. I asked myself, what steps will I take to be a champion and a winner today? I learned to borrow from the past to create my future. I will never forget the story of Fred Lane, the former running back for the Carolina Panthers. Fred was not performing at the level he expected from himself. So one day I asked him if he remembered playing sandlot football. He looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, remember when we were kids, how we played the game so freely with no pressure from the world? Just loving the game and totally believing in our ability? Fred then borrowed from his past success to help create his desired outcome.
Excellent. That reminds me of race car school. When a new driver first starts out, they put him in the driver's seat and the instructor sits in the passenger seat. There's a little button on the floorboard that when they push that button, it causes the car to spin out of control because it raises just one wheel a quarter of an inch off the ground. What do you think happens with that new driver? They're racing around the track at full speed and they push that button, the car spins out of control. What do you think that new driver does? That's right. The car spins out of control and they focus on the wall and they step on the brakes. Isn't that what we do in life? We focus on what we don't want when we have problems and we step on the brakes and slow down. We have to manage our focus. So what they teach the race car drivers is they literally force their head to look at the open road, to look at where they're going. And about 2 or 3 seconds later, the car regains composure and starts spinning around the track again. We have to be very good at managing our focus and what we really want. Whatever dominates our focus is what we get. Think about it. If we focus on how bad our relationships are, we get more of that. If we focus on our lack of money, that's exactly what we get. Or even our health. We are not saying to live like Leave It to Beaver or on Fantasy Island. We must live in reality and not have a false reality. We must look at the weeds and destroy them while staying focused on the positive outcomes we desire.
As part of phase 1, we also need to understand ourselves. We need to understand our strengths and our potential weaknesses. I remember being on the football team in the 9th grade. I played offensive guard. I was a lineman. Can you believe that, Rich? I was a lineman. I had no identity and I had no playtime, by the way. I had no business being a lineman. Then one day the varsity coach came to me and he asked me a very important question. He said, Leonard, why are you over here? I looked at him and said, I don't know. And I'm thinking to myself, is this a trick question? Then he asked me to come and try out for defensive back. And lo and behold, I got it. I started to believe I could play this game. All I needed to do was to make myself available for change and maximize my strengths.
We must make ourselves open to change while maximizing our strengths. But would it make more sense to maximize our strengths, or should we maximize our weaknesses?
We must concentrate and maximize our strengths while making sure our potential weaknesses do not get in our way.
And even if we look at the sporting area as a whole, Football made sense for you, Leonard, versus basketball or hockey or some other sport. Although I'm sure you were a great athlete in many sports, but you really zoned in on your strengths. And then once you were in the right sport, you took it to another level by honing in on your specific position on the team.
We manage our focus. We learn about our strengths and our potential weaknesses so we can discover ourselves and outcome clarity. We get some feedback from some trusted friends, relatives, and maybe even our spouse. We know they're always honest, right, Rich?
You got that right. So we start in the beginning by remembering we are a champion, and then we start to discover our identity along with our true purpose. The story of the scorpion and the turtle is a great analogy, where the scorpion asks the turtle, "Hey, can you get me to the other side of the river?" And the turtle says, "No way, you'll sting me and I'll die." The scorpion says, "Why would I do that? If I sting you, you'll die. And because I'm on your back, I'll die too." And the turtle says, "Yes, I guess you have a good point. Hop on my back, Mr. Scorpion." So the scorpion hops on the turtle's back and they proceed across the river. And halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the turtle. And the turtle says, "Why'd you do that? You just killed me and you too." And the scorpion says, "I know, but I'm a scorpion and scorpions sting. It's his identity. That's who he was." So how do we really get to that place, to that core within ourselves?
It's really important to start understanding ourselves. Now, as a defensive back, we must have great focus. That means that if we get beat for a touchdown, we have to come back the next time and make a play, a great play. And that's where we are today. Do we forget about some of the mistakes that we've made in our life to keep that champion alive within us? Do we focus on our outcome? Or are we stuck looking in the rearview mirror, pondering on our past failures? Remember, we get what we focus on.
We have to stay focused now on where we are going. We must stay focused on the outcome, letting go of the past. The past does not equal the future. Look at Colonel Sanders from Kentucky Fried Chicken. He didn't start the concept of Kentucky Fried Chicken till he was retired at 65. What if he would have said, "I'm too old for that"? We wouldn't have finger-licking chicken from KFC. What about Oprah Winfrey? She was molested as a child and went from one foster care home to another. Look at her now, the wealthiest female entrepreneur in the world. We must stay focused on where we are going. As Gandhi said, we must become the change we want to see.
Yes, Edwin Lewis Cole put it perfectly. He said that a person without a vision is a person without a future. And a person without a future will always return to his past.
And Stephen Covey said, the best way to predict your future is to create it. We really have to hone in on what it is we want, and that starts with self-awareness.
If everyone could take out a piece of paper. Now, if you're driving in a car, I would recommend you do this later. But if you could take out a piece of paper and let's outline a few areas.
In the area of relationships, where are you 1 to 10? 10, you have exceptionally great relationships. 1, they're terrible, not so good. Next area, where are you in the area of physical health and vitality? 1 to 10. 10, you jump out of bed with the opportunity clock. 1, you're tired and exhausted every morning saying, "Oh God, it's morning." Where are you in the area of finances? 1 to 10. 10, your finances are taken care of and you have financial freedom. 1 being they're not so good. Where are you in the area of spiritual growth and purpose? Do you feel like you're on purpose in your life? 1 to 10. 10 being that you're on purpose. 1, you have no clue. When we start with this simple self-awareness, we can then determine some of our outcomes.
What we're doing is putting the responsibility in your hands, the listener. We are holding you accountable to write this valuable information down and to start understanding your strengths and weaknesses. It's having that balance in all areas.
So champions have balance or dynamic equilibrium. They're always looking at taking it to the next level in all areas of life. In talking about the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution, let's take it to another level. How do we really tune in on learning more about ourselves? How do we take the feedback or get the feedback? Leonard, I'm sure the other players or coaches offered you advice. How did you handle that feedback?
We always ask people to be honest with us. We always say, keep it real. As soon as people keep it real, we close up. We get mad. We get ticked off. That's what I did. As soon as a coach offered me constructive criticism on how I played in the game, I would take it as negative criticism. like he was questioning my ability. One coach said, "Leonard, we think your hips are too tight." Instantly, I got defensive. I said to myself, "What are you talking about? I stretch all the time." But what he was saying is, if you do this better, Leonard, you'll be a more effective player for yourself and for our team. I needed to look at myself and keep it real. Because I wasn't getting the point, Coach had me study my film. I could see that, maybe my hips are too tight. Now, I know a lot of you don't have film that you can look at in your own lives, but you can look at your own lives as film just as I did. For example, you can look at the way you treat people. If 3 of your best friends were talking about you at a neighborhood picnic, what would they say about you? How would they describe you? If you have to bite your lip while your spouse gives you some constructive feedback, then bite it. The feedback is going to help you grow and keep it real. It's just like working out. When your muscles break down, it hurts, but this is exactly what makes them stronger. Be willing and ready to listen and accept feedback. A great belief I adopted a while back was, for anything to change, I must change.
I know our spouses and closest friends are really good at giving us honest feedback. Ask them, what are your thoughts? What are my strengths? What are my potential weaknesses? What do you think I really do well? What are some of my areas I excel in? Now, this does not mean go tell everyone you know what they could do better. You hear me, husbands and wives? This doesn't mean go tell your spouse they need to do this and that better. What it means is ask your spouse for some honest feedback. And then shut up and listen. Don't offer anyone advice unless they're asking you. Just walk the talk and they will see it in you. I know God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen twice as much.
As a champion, I'm always preparing for the next level. For example, when I was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, I made it a goal to complete my college degree in business as soon as possible. I was happy to be a professional football player, but I was always looking ahead. I knew that one day football would come to an end. To have a future after the NFL, I needed to prepare for the day I would take that final step off the field. That's how we must think as champions.
By the way, when did you realize you would take that final step off the field?
Funny you should ask. I remember laying on the field when I blew out my knee thinking, I just blew out my knee. God, is this it? I'm so glad I'm prepared for my future. What's next?
Excellent. Let's recap phase 1 before we move on to phase 2. Phase 1 in being a champion is the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution. And we talked about starting with the awareness of who we are and remembering who we are as a champion. That starts with our self-talk or incantations, saying, I am a winner, I am a champion, I am not taking that today. We must manage our focus. We talked about borrowing experience from our past, like Fred Lane and The Sandlot. We need to come out of hiding and be ready to listen to feedback from others. We talked about maximizing our strengths and managing our potential weaknesses and the power of understanding ourselves. Our belief system of the past does not equal the future. We cannot drive forward while looking through the rearview mirror. Where do you rate yourself in the 4 life areas we discussed? 1 to 10 in physical health and vitality, relationships, financial, and spiritual growth. We talked about taking it to the next level. Now that is a lot of valuable information about being a champion. Are we really ready for phase 2?
We covered a lot of ground. It's important to remember that just like we work out our muscles in the gym, we must now work out our thinking muscles with this program. We are intentionally stretching you and expanding who you are. You know, once a balloon is blown up, it never returns to its original form. The same is true of our thinking. Your conscious mind might not remember all of this, but your subconscious mind will. The part of you that enables your heart to beat over 100,000 times per day will remember. Are you ready to stretch and capture the champion within? Out of respect for you, we would like your permission again to move forward. Are you ready? If you are, say yes. Go ahead and say it. Yes. Great.
But before we move on to phase 2, write down just 1 outcome you'd like from this program. Go ahead, get out some paper. We'll wait. Look at the 4 life areas: financial, spiritual, relationships, health and vitality. What is 1 life area where you feel most complacent? Some outcome examples might be spend more time with your kids, have a closer connection with your spouse, have financial freedom, get to a specific weight, or start going to church. Okay, did you get down your outcome? If not, stop the program now and get it down so that we can move on to phase 2. Now let's move on to phase 2, leverage momentum strategy. Next, you must build the leverage to execute and take action. In other words, you must create the momentum that will propel you forward.
When I was young, I stuttered all the time. I was terrified of public speaking. I stuttered so badly sometimes, my neck would cramp up from using every muscle in it to get a word out. My whole life, people laughed at me and my imperfection to articulate. It was a huge challenge to overcome. Think about it. I'm a student in a high school classroom. My brain knows the answer to a teacher's question, but I'm afraid to raise my hand from a fear of stuttering. When I was with my friends, similar situations would come up. I was afraid of being laughed at. It was embarrassing. I had to make a real decision of how long must I accept this. I used the pain of my stuttering to propel me forward instead of letting it paralyze me.
That's amazing. I would have never guessed in a million years that you had a stuttering problem. So what you're saying is that you use the physical and emotional pain of your stuttering to drive you forward in overcoming the very problem you suffered from?
I decided I must change. Not maybe, not should, but I must. I will change. As we get older, we start to second guess every decision we make in our lives. And we start to wonder, what if? And that what if sometimes gives birth to negative energy. And then we start to question almost every decision that got us this far. We develop negative patterns in our thinking, and those patterns lead us into the wrong direction.
We can get caught up in saying, I should do this, I should do that, I should have more money, I should work out more, I should spend more quality time with my family, I should. If we're not careful, we can end up shoulding all over ourselves. We build up negative patterns in our decisions, and that perpetuates the same poor results, much like a CD that plays the same song over and over and over again. According to recent studies, we have 65,000 thoughts per day, and 95% of those thoughts are exactly the same as the day before. Now that can be a good thing if the 95% of our thoughts are moving us in the direction of our outcome we desire. Unfortunately, that's not usually the case. The patterns we've developed, in most cases, unconscious patterns, are moving us away from our true intention. The quality of our life starts with the quality of our communication with ourselves. It's absolutely amazing what we as human beings can do, and it's usually disappointing what we actually become. How do we prevent this? We must start by understanding our thinking patterns. We must develop the skills to interrupt the bad patterns, replacing them with new empowering patterns. We must record a new CD so we don't continually listen to our old songs over and over again. This forces us to use our pain to drive us in the direction of our desired outcomes.
Most people get paralyzed by their pain instead of using it to accelerate success. You really need to change your association with the pain, or change the meaning of what pain is. Change the meaning of what pain is. Pain is our friend. When pain comes knocking, you just say this: "Hello, pain. Welcome back into my life. What new lessons, opportunities, and experiences are we about to learn together? Oh, by the way, pain, I'm now in control of you. You are here for one reason and one reason only: to propel me forward to my desired outcome. That seat you're sitting in is where the pilot sits. It's mine. Now move over. I'm driving."
Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning we give it. Think about it. I once had an admin a while back, and she'd run into my office and say, "I'm so stressed out." And I said, "From now on, you must change one thing. You can run in my office and you can say this: I am so stretched." So we had her change the word from stressed to stretched. It changed everything. We must fully associate to the pain instead of letting it paralyze us. It seems to me that so many people, including myself at times, are like the frog in the water.
You know the old story of the frog? If you put a frog in warm water and turn the burner all the way up, the frog would just stay in the water as it gradually gets hotter and hotter and hotter until it boils to death, never realizing that the water is becoming too hot. On the other hand, if you put a frog in the boiling hot water from the beginning, it would jump out immediately because the pain in the moment is already intense enough.
I guess it's true. We don't wake up overnight and say, oh, I have all these fat cells all over my body. It happened over time. Gradually, little by little, the pain was increased, but it was never enough to take action and decide to change our destiny. We also don't have a terrible relationship with our spouse overnight. It happened with one disagreement or one failed challenge over a long period of time.
We have to ask the right questions and we must become fully associated with the pain. So how do we do this?
You have to take an honest look at yourself. You must ask the right questions. If you could stand up now as we ask these questions, that would be great. Are you standing? What does this cost you in your life to live with these old belief systems that you've had about not losing the weight, about not having that relationship with your family or your spouse or your kids? What does that cost you? Go ahead, stand up and associate to this right now. What is this going to cost you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What will it be like to wake up one morning knowing that we didn't do anything about this? What will it be like to look at yourself in the mirror knowing we still have that weight on us 5 years, 10 years into the future? What will it cost you by not being able to spend time with your family and your loved ones? What will it cost you in your career? Go ahead, face the pain now. Get fully associated to it. Now is the time to make the real decision, the decision that will shape your destiny. The word decision comes from the Latin root word of incision, which means to cut and be direct and effective. We continue to work out our decision-making muscles.
Ask better questions and make real decisions. In fact, you need to face the pain and anger head on instead of running from it. You need to face your fears, your frustrations, your angers inside. This is exactly what will sculpt you into being a champion. You must start by feeling the pain and not just letting it beat you down and paralyze you.
Makes sense, but what about all the reasons people don't succeed? Or what if we just can't seem to find the edge to get ahead?
Rich, the answer is short and real. People find excuse after excuse to explain why they are where they are. You have to stop depending on other people to rescue you from your hour of despair. As people, we can become so dramatic in making decisions instead of just making the decision. Let's address this issue by making decisions and not excuses. We must learn to trust ourselves. Live with your decisions. Some will be better than others. The point is not allowing the mistake that you make to paralyze you from making a decision and to capture the champion within you.
Little known fact, the home run champion Babe Ruth was also the strikeout leader in his time. Think about it. You can't depend on everyone else to rescue you. You cannot continue to be the victim. You have to take responsibility for your outcomes. So, who can you depend on to help raise the bar to get to that next level?
Well, we said it earlier. God created you all to be winners. You were winners at the beginning. So the question is, why are you trying to depend on everyone else but Him? You must create a balance of all available resources. Sure, you have to depend on yourself and periodically other people. But ultimately, you have to depend on the Creator that created us. He knows us better than anybody. Listen carefully. This does not mean don't work and take action. You have to be personally accountable and proactive in your own life. God is always working in our lives, and He expects us to do the same. He also provides signals and road signs along the journey. So make sure that you're watching and listening for them.
In summary, Phase 2, the leverage and momentum strategy. To be effective in Phase 2, you must ask yourself better questions and give yourself honest answers. Become fully associated with your pain and use it to drive you forward and make a real decision for change. Focus on your Creator and take massive action. Taking these steps will give you the leverage and momentum to capture the champion within.
Before we move on to Phase 3, let's look back at the outcome you wrote down in phase 1. If you still didn't write it down, you have a second chance to do it now. Surely you would like to do something more in your life. Great! I want you to take a few minutes to write down what's stopping you from achieving that outcome. What are your limiting beliefs that stop you? Things like no time, no energy, no money, no resources, no education, no training, no experience. Now, this is very important before we move on to phase 3. You have to think about what it's going to be like to live with that old belief system 5, 10, 20 years into the future. Are you willing to carry all those old limiting beliefs with you? Are you willing to live with all that trash that's been holding you back? It's time to make a real decision about who you are. It's time to capture the champion within. If you're ready to dump all the trash and move forward with your life and your desired outcome, say yes. Do your chances improve dramatically when you let go of your old limiting beliefs? You bet they do. Congratulations for taking out the trash. Now let's reverse those old beliefs. If you said you had no time, your new belief might be, I make time. If your old belief was, I don't have a degree or experience, the new belief might be, I have a degree in results. If you need some time for this, stop the CD now.
Congratulations on making it to phase 3, perpetual success conditioning. What really separates that fleeting moment in time when we make that New Year's resolution about I'm going to work out and it only lasts for 2 weeks? The true champions have that in their identity. In other words, that's what separates a champion from mediocrity. A champion is always taking it to the next level.
Let's face it, working out can sometimes be a drain for anyone. I love to work out, but even for me, I have to keep myself motivated when I'm tired or just have no interest. My thinking and conditioned success patterns keep me going long term. For example, when you go into a gym with a goal or a plan to work out, you have extra intensity, fire, and motivation to conquer success. However, if you don't have a plan, you may find yourself wandering from machine to machine and just fighting to stay motivated enough not to embarrass yourself. That's why you must always continue to condition your success patterns by having a plan.
Just like you have negative thinking patterns, you can also have positive patterns in your thinking. The real question is, what patterns are you running? People will often ask me in my coaching practice, Rich, are you going to put us in a trance? And I say, no, I'm going to break the trance. We are conditioned all the time by the media, people, situations, and our environment. As an example, when I say, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, what do you say? Or, my baloney has a first name, it's... Or what about this one? Where's the... Beef, you got it. All the following are conditioned responses. It's time to develop some new, perpetual, long-term success patterns.
My good friend Eugene Robinson and I have a spark phrase called, now what? What that does is it challenges us where we are. And it asks the question, what's next? Like I said earlier, I have a spark I call, come on. When I say come on, it triggers the intensity internally to take whatever I'm doing to the next level. It tells me not to settle for mediocrity because anybody can do that, and it reminds me being mediocre is not who I am.
We have a trigger or spark words that we use over and over again. In fact, if you could stop for a moment, think about the last time you felt really excited or motivated about something. I mean, really excited. Measure yourself. Where are you right now as you think about that time? 1 to 10. 10, you're totally motivated. 1, you're completely unmotivated. Think about being motivated right now as you stand up. What we are going to do is condition that with Leonard's come on. Think about a time you were really excited, where you popped out of bed. Notice what happens in your breathing. Adjust your breathing right now that you're feeling really excited, that you're feeling energized, that you're feeling alive. Notice what colors bring out the brightness and the aliveness in yourself and your soul. What awakens you right now? And as you get to that place, say it. Come on.
On three, we're going to say come on together with the most intense, motivated, and enthusiastic voice you have. On three, ready? 1, 2, 3, come on! Again, 1, 2, 3, come on! Good! That's what I'm talking about. I remember as a kid, we dreamed all the time, and we would talk to our friends and family about our dreams. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a professional athlete. I want to be this and that. Well, as we become older, we forget to dream. We forget that it's okay to think outside the box. Isn't that what God created us to do? To have a vision, to have a dream, a purpose, to have a focus of success, instead of allowing the world around us to conform us into what they want us to be? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Dream? So when I say come on, that challenges the very existence of everything inside of me to come to the forefront, step up, and do something that's great. Not just in the eyes of people, but for myself. It gives me a sense of living, a sense of being alive, and not being anything less than what God created us to be, and that's a champion.
Excellent. I love what you're saying there. It makes so much sense to stop being conformed by the world around us, to really be part of the cause versus the effect, to really step up and be all we're capable of being. And you can use triggers or spark words, much like Pavlov, the famous psychologist, did with the dogs, where he'd feed the dogs and then he'd ring a bell, feed the dogs and ring a bell. And eventually, without feeding the dogs at all, he could ring the bell and the dogs would salivate on command. So what we've done is created positive, conditioned patterns within yourself.
As a professional football player, I was so used to people bringing me food. When I got on the plane, there would be food there. When I arrived at the hotel, my room key would be waiting on the table. It conditions players to accept that the world is going to continue to give, and give. And what happens is, after we retire, all that's gone. So now we have to readjust the way we think. It happens every day in the real world also. The world conforms us into this way of thinking, and then when situations change, if we don't adapt, it puts us on side the road and we feel lonely or full of despair.
Well, that's when we go back to phase 1, the self-awareness and outcome clarity solution. We identify our outcomes, followed by the leverage in phase 2, leverage momentum strategy.
That's it, Rich. That's exactly it.
So let's talk some more about this conditioning in phase 3. One concept you can use is triggers or spark words. Another concept that's used a lot is humor. I know your athletic conditioning classes are hilarious. I mean, you really have some great humor that's involved in the program, which seems to make it a lot more fun for everybody. Do you plan to have humor as part of this program?
I love doing what I enjoy. When we come into a gym, we are sometimes so focused on just getting in and getting out, instead of are we really enjoying the moment we have for ourselves? How do you do that? How do you enjoy the moment for yourself? What we must do is create a plan. Rich, you talk about creating a plan all the time. Do we create a plan for our lives? Do we create a plan for going to the gym? Do we create a plan for our kids? I think sometimes we feel like we don't have enough time. I know some of you moms out there going, I have 3 kids. I have a husband. And sometimes he's my kid. Well, guess what? Sometimes you have to take the time for yourself and create a plan instead of just winging it.
You really need to take time for yourself. According to recent research, only 5% of the population takes the time to focus on self. Do you take the time to look at yourself and your plan? You have to prepare. So you have to work on your lives instead of always in your lives. You have to take a step out to look into your lives and say, here's what I'm going to do today to change.
So to answer your question about my use of humor in my conditioning classes, I want people I'm affecting to enjoy not just myself, but to enjoy what they're doing. I use what God gave me, and humor is something I can share. It goes back to understanding ourselves. We all need to get good at using what we have. Again, back to phase 1.
We've got the part about building triggers, sparks, building a plan, and understanding ourselves, like using humor. Another key element we discuss is accountability. I don't take any chances with my life areas. I have a team of people I surround myself with to ensure I am always taking it to the next level. I have a team for my marriage and relationships, my business, my goals, my health, and my finances. It's critical to have an accountability team.
I'm big on accountability because I love to grow. It's imperative to hold other people accountable and for other people to hold me accountable. And as we continue to do that, everybody begins to strive together. As iron sharpens iron, so as one man sharpens another. We win together. Not just myself or the class, but as a team. We create the champion within all of us together. Always remember that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, that's great. You continue to raise my efforts and my performance because I know you're holding your life to a higher level. And that's what you expect the people around you to do. You walk the talk.
We continue to raise the bar together, my friend.
Awesome. So as part of phase 3, you need to have accountability for yourself and others. Get another person, a coach, a trainer, or a team of people together to ensure that you stay focused and consistent for the long haul.
A new level, not just for yourself, but also for the people around you.
You all have primary questions that really drive a lot of your actions and really bring out the champion within yourself and others. So what are some of those primary questions that drive your behavior? Questions like, how do I feel when I am energized? What does it feel like to be a winner? We are always asking 2 questions. What does this mean and what should I do? If we are always asking questions, why not ask great questions? We assure you that asking great questions will change your life forever.
One question is, what's next? Once you've completed a goal and you look in the mirror, you have to ask yourself, what's next? Do you stop challenging yourself now because you've completed the goal or the outcome? The goal is no longer a goal anymore if you've completed it. A real champion always asks the question, what's next?
Champions are always in this area of constantly improving, to keep building on what we already have. What's next? How do we keep sculpting ourselves in our thinking, in our physical bodies, in our relationships, in our finances to always take it to the next level? What's next? What a great question for a champion to have. Look at any human being that has created a life of true mastery. What did they do? They continue to improve. Let's face it, Michael Jordan was great a long time ago, yet he kept saying to himself, what's next? And that question accelerated him to levels almost beyond human comprehension. So let's review here a bit. There are 4 different keys we talked about in phase 3. We talked about the triggers or the sparks that we use to build positive reinforcement in our thinking. Can we have another one of those come-ons from you, Leonard?
Come on!
Excellent. Notice that when you hear, come on, what that triggers in you. And that's a conditioned response. As you hear that, you can take the action. You can adjust your physiology and your thinking to take the next step. We talked about planning and preparing and recognizing our natural gifts like humor and how to use those gifts. And we talked about the associations we have with others, the accountability.
The like-mindedness of wanting others to hold us accountable while continuing to raise the bar.
Exactly, raising the bar through people we hang around with. And another key for conditioning is questions. What are the primary questions that drive your behavior and your thinking? What are those questions? What are the key questions for you? And are those questions driving you towards your outcomes or are they pulling you away? If we ask questions like, why am I a failure? Why am I so fat? Well, ask and we shall receive. We have to really manage our questions. The answers are in the questions.
A champion understands that he or she must be committed to constant and never-ending improvement. A champion always wants to be challenged. A champion never quits. It's not an option. A champion always wants to grow, and a champion never settles for mediocrity.
We know this is a lot of information to digest, so we recommend you listen to the CD more than once and become familiar with all 3 phases. It's in your hands now.
We pray that this program will capture the champion within you. Our hope is that you will find your way back to what God created you to be, and that is a champion.